Hi, Andrew. Thank you guys so much. That was absolutely wonderful. To the group, right? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So just a quick introduction, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We wanted to kickstart our meeting with some holiday cheer. This is Andrew Dittman. He is the choir master for St. Timothy's School and the Chapel of Cross in Uptown Dallas. Andrew, and it was lovely. Thank you so much to your choir and the kids. We really appreciate it. And as a small thank you and token of our appreciation, we are gonna give you a $200 donation to use towards whatever needs you have in your group and your choir.
Thank you. Just make it out to Andrew Dittman, and not be.
Okay. All right. Well, and send us your personal address and we'll mail that check right out. All right, bye. Thank you guys. Have a great day. And with that, everyone, I'm going to hand it over to Chris, and he is going to kickstart our meeting today.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys. Let's see. So first of all, we generally every Christmas we'll get together with TRN and have a joint holiday breakfast. 2020 has thrown wrinkles in everyone's plans, so this year we did it a little different. But one of the causes that we have always had has been gathering toys for the Dallas and Fort Worth police departments. So Shelly Giles was gracious enough to go ahead and organize that for us. So for those of you who have already donated, thank you so much for your donation. And for those of you who have not, I'm going to post a link. And so I just posted that link in our little chat box. You can click on that. It goes straight to the wish list. It's run through Amazon. You can just click on anything you'd like, and it ships straight to Shelly Giles, and then she'll get those donated over to the Dallas and Fort Worth police departments. And those toys go really for children who are in distress when the police, just in their normal day-to-day environment, let's say they get called on a domestic dispute. If there's children involved, then they'll have those toys available to hand out to those kids and try and give them some comfort in a pretty stressful situation. So anyway, that's a great cause. So thank you for your donations. And if you have an opportunity, please click that link and help some of those kids. Next, I want to introduce our sponsors for 2020. Thank you guys so much for 2020. I think when we were doing sponsorships back in December, January, about a year ago, no one foresaw what 2020 would be. Those sponsorship dollars came in extremely helpful for us in being able to still support the causes that we have throughout the years, since we had some pretty limited revenues in other areas, obviously. So the sponsors for 2020, A1 Freeman Moving, Acme Car Shipping, Ayers, Alexander's Mobility Services, Alibeth Alman and Associates, Altair Global, Armstrong Relocation and Companies, Arpin Group, Baker International Insurance, Berkshire Hathaway Premier Properties, Better Homes and Garden Real Estate Winans, Cars Arrive Network, Chase, Coldwell Banker Apex, Colonial National Mortgage, Eddie Halliday Real Estate Inc., Fidelity Residential Solutions, Impact Group, Interconnex Inc., Nelson Westerberg, New World Van Lines, Old Republic Relocation Services, Premier Relocation Mortgage, Prime Lending, Remax Premier, Reload Direct, SML Relocation, Sterling Lexicon, TRC Global Mobility, Ward North American, and Wells Fargo. So thank you for our 2020 sponsors. 2021 sponsorship is right around the corner. Tom Wortham leads the sponsorship on the sponsorship board, with Carrie Hatfield heading the sponsorship committee. They're going to be reaching out to you guys shortly for our 2021 sponsorship drive. We have reduced the sponsorship for the year down to $500. And then if you were a 2020 sponsor, we're cutting that in half for your 2021 renewal. Let's see, it's almost board changeover time. Thank you to all the 2020 board members, especially our outgoing president, Jane Woolston, who did a great job adapting on the fly and putting together some great content throughout the year, even in a virtual environment. Got a lot of good board members coming back for 2021, and some new members joining, and a lot of new involvement, which we're always excited about. Love to see new people getting involved. So thanks for everyone who's volunteering your time and knowledge to the group. We really appreciate it. I'm honored to be selected as your 2021 president. If I can help in any way, individually, collectively, feel free to reach out to me directly. As far as upcoming events, we're still planning those for 2021. Check the website. Grant and Mark do great about pushing out the upcoming announcements. But check the website, NorthTexasRelocationProfessionals.org, for upcoming events. And now I will hand it over to Pam Pinto, who is the 2019 Saul Gresky Awards winner, and she's going to announce our she was 2019 winner. She's going to announce the 2020 winner for Saul Gresky.
Thanks,
And over to
Chris.
you, Pam.
Thank you. The Saul Gresky Award is an annual honor presented to the relocation professional, recognizing their excellence in service and contributions, excuse me, to the relocation industry. This year's recipient has become quite the chef during COVID. When takeout is the meal of choice, you may find this person at a Mexican restaurant or cowboy chicken. He is also quite the world traveler, paying for his first adventure to the EU and Russia by working a couple of jobs to earn money during high school. The travels have not been without memorable experiences. He lost his parents in a foreign country with no ability to speak the language. He found them and put his heart back in his chest following a panic attack. Our recipient grew up in the real estate industry in New Mexico and brought his talent to Texas, where he became a leader throughout the Texas and national relocation industry. He has an extensive service record with worldwide ERC, including positions as industry and advisory council member, review and advisory board member, committee member, webinar presenter, and symposium speaker and panelist. He received his 4th ERC Distinguished Service Award, was honored at their 2015 National Conference, and admitted to their Hall of Leaders. In other words, he has his face in bronze. I'm pleased to add the 2020 Saul Gresky Award to his list of honors. Please join me in congratulating Rob Johnson.
Yo, Rob.
We should unmute for the clap. Congratulations.
And I don't think he's on, so it is really going to be a surprise. I'm going to, he did register, and I'm going to email him now so I can drop off his award. And really, it does say his name on it. I don't know if you can see this, but it says Rob Johnson. Now I'm going to turn it over to Bruce to introduce our speaker.
Oh, man. Thank you, everybody, for coming to our meeting today. You are in for a treat, as we have an incredible speaker today for our final meeting of the year. Give me just one more second. I'm going to make sure Kelvin is on our spotlight because he is in the spotlight. Okay, so I want to give a quick introduction for our speaker. Man, this guy's brilliant. Let me just say that. This guy that's going to speak today, his name is Kelving Goss. He's the Senior Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Delek US Oil and Gas. And so I've known Kelvin for a few years now. And Kelvin, I'm going to put this up here, if everybody can see my screen here, has written a book. And this book is called Be Brilliant in the Basics, Finding Success in Retail Through Detail. And I've gotten to know Kelvin over the last couple of years, and he is a dynamic leader. He's been a leader in HR for Delek, but he has transitioned into a new role of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so he's carrying that banner, and I'm so proud of him. I just want to read this bio just real quick. He works with the CEO and the senior leadership team to help foster goals of creating Delek of the future. They're beginning a great transformational strategy in the workplace, and his role really is to really be part of instrumental in change management process. His diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts will assist in building a reputation at Delek US as a best places to work. I love that. Formerly, he served the HR business partners of all of the retail stores for Delek. And prior to Delek, he oversaw HR for 15 states for Walmart, Sam's Club based out of California, encompassing over 100 Sam's Clubs and approximately 20,000 associates. Of course, he's published this book, Be Brilliant in the Basics. You can look it up on his website, bebrilliantinthebasics.com. I want to just urge everybody to go check that out. Sounds like that could be a great Christmas gift as well. So go check that out. He's got certifications from USC, TCU in business leadership, and he enjoys inspiring people and being inspired. Health and wellness are a big part of his life to bring his best self to work and his personal life. And so I just want to say thank you, Kelvin, for coming and speaking to the North Texas relocation professionals. And man, I can't wait to hear your presentation because it's all about being brilliant. So, hey, welcome.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it. I'm going to take a second to share my screen and then we'll get into it. I appreciate that introduction. You're too kind.
There I am.
You're ready to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the kind words and the introduction. And I want everyone to know this on this Zoom that I'm thoroughly impressed and honored to have an opportunity to spend quality time with such wonderful professionals that help all of our lives at some point in our life move forward. Where would we be without relocation professionals? So thank you very much. I hope in the short period of time that we have today, this afternoon, we are all inspired and have a great interchange of encouragement. So I'll start right there. You should be seeing a screen that says, "Be brilliant in relocation," and in honor of you, the North Texas relocation professionals. Again, it's a privilege to be here with you today. I look forward to a great interchange of encouragement. And I would love for, after this presentation, please let's connect on LinkedIn, because I'm a person who has strong beliefs that your network is your network. And Bruce says that all the time, and we align so much on that. So thank you for allowing me to have a few minutes of your time. I want to go into a little bit about what you can expect today. Bruce had a clip of the book, Be Brilliant in the Basics, but really what inspired me to write the book was my mom taught school for about 40 years, and she passed from Alzheimer's in 2015, but she had it from 1997. And the day she passed, I was holding her hand, and she looked me in the eye. One little tear came down, and then she passed. And then after that moment, in my mind, I thought, well, I want to do something to honor her as a teacher, because I don't have any other brothers and sisters, no children. So I wanted to keep our name intact and alive and well if something ever was to happen to me. So in the book, if you happen to purchase it, you'll be able to see that there's some comments around her life and how much it impacted me. So that's what inspired me. Today, I wanted to share a few bullet points with you that I hope you can take away or what to expect. One is just being brilliant in communication. Be brilliant at retaining and recruiting top talent. We know that's definitely a significant impact to any organization today. And then to be brilliant at role modeling the golden rule. Fourth is be brilliant at being a student of the business and really leveraging your business acumen. We want to be brilliant at fifth at living your best dash. We'll elaborate on that some on and off the job. And lastly, be brilliant in mentorship. So let's move forward. A little bit about me. Bruce told you some of my background. I had a leader at one point in my life that shared this with me. He said, great leaders do two things really well. They inspire people and they change behaviors. And that really resonated with me because we all want to do our very best on the job. I don't think anyone gets up and goes to work and says, today I want to do just a half of a job. Most of us go to work with the mentality, what can we do to make this a better place today than it was yesterday? So if you can influence people and change behaviors, I think you go home with a really solidified mindset of you gave it your very best. So I really have the mindset serve as a service to influence and to lead and really be a change agent in anything that I take on as a project or a job, because I feel like if you can do those things well, you'll see great results. I'll move right into a little bit about you. When I think about relocation as a brand, I did a little research, and I want to give a really nice shout out to Brian Dignan. I believe if I pronounced your last name right. He reached out to me when he realized I had an opportunity to present to you today and share some details around relocation and some aspects of your business that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. And it was invaluable to look through some of those data points. But I did a little research based off of the insight he shared and some that I actually wanted to look into myself. But it was incredibly obvious to me that all of us will be impacted at some point, basically, in our life around relocating or moving. If you notice the box, Americans move on average of 11.7 times in their lifetime. Total of 35.9 million people moved between 2012 and 2013. Now, personally, I've moved around 7 times in regards to relocation for jobs. And I was trying to reflect when Bruce reached out to me about this opportunity. How did that experience really go for me? And what could I maybe share with this group that may have some that resonates with you well? And, you know, when I look at relocation and you think about some of the things we've been through in this year, it's an excellent, sustainable business model. Only if you're really brilliant in the basics, right? Because a brand is so important. So think about it. Someone comes over to your house, and maybe, you know, prior to the pandemic, we didn't really, you know, freak out. But if someone sneezed, you'd offer them a Kleenex. If someone was thirsty, you would offer them a Coke. But really, Kleenex is just a brand. Tissue is really what you're offering. Coke is a brand, but a drink or soft drink is what you're offering. But we're so tied to brands. And how important is it that in the relocation business, that a brand really stands out as a strong brand? And no matter if you're independent or if it's an industry conglomerate where you have, from a moving perspective or relocation, you want that brand to be, when people share that brand or insight around you and your business that's tied to that brand, it's favorable. And it was amazing to me as I looked at it, the most recent statistic that I could find, and you may find something different, but it showed around 32 million people, 32,252,000,000 people moved in 2019. And I really like to analyze business statistics like that and really pull back layers and say, where do you really get value from that? And if I did the math right, there's 8,736 hours in a year. And then you start to do some mathematics there, around 3,681 people will actually move before I finish this presentation with you today. So you have a great business model. And how do you continue to create a sustainable brand? As you see the faces of these two ladies, they're extremely excited. Maybe it's a job transfer, or they may just be getting a new apartment, new home, whatever the case may be. You want people elated when they decide to move. And you want them to think about your business model and your brand, wherever that may be in regards to relocation. So I don't know how many of you, when you started 2020, probably had the mindset of, hey, here's a great new opportunity to start a brand new year. And with 2020 coming around, we were all excited. What will this year bring about for us? Well, obviously, 2020 tested all of us professionally, didn't it? When you think about it, it really brought us to, it's the year, if you know, historians like to give names to years. I would say 2020 was definitely a year of survival of the fittest. It tested us professionally and personally. And it truly, as you see John Travolta, was about staying alive. And I don't want to share too much information, but when this movie actually came out, I really liked the way that suit looked and the music behind it. So I want you to get that music in your head around staying alive, because that can be your mantra in 2021 is how you will approach your career today, forward, and the rest of your life. 2021 is almost here. And you want to have the mindset of being able to navigate through unprecedented waters and stay alive for your business, professionally and personally. So it's been an unprecedented year in all business models. So it's not just about relocation, industry, or what you bring to the table from your career path. It's everyone. Everyone has been impacted this year. And some people have capitalized on the pandemic and social unrest and emotions running high and sickness, whatever that may be. Some individuals figured it out, and they figured out how to survive. And if you're on this WebEx, you figured out how to survive. And now that you figured that out, how to survive through these kind of muddy waters, the question is, you stayed alive in 2020. What's your master plan to keep that momentum going? And even if you had to deal with certain struggles, what will you do differently as leaders to continue to move forward and find your path as to how not only will you survive, but you will thrive? So I'll pause here and ask this question. How has your industry been impacted in 2020? And I'd love to hear some commentary from the audience on this Zoom call. Be honest, but what happens on this Zoom call stays on this Zoom call. Have you seen a different style?
And by the way, if anybody wants to put something in the chat, Jennifer's she's gonna facilitate that. So put your questions in there. I know I've been impacted. A lot of companies that I work with, they put the pause button. They're not even back to work, yet alone relocating anyone. And then we've also had some commercial moving services impacted as well. So definitely impacted.
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Jennifer here, we saw a lot of our peers in this industry get furloughed, maybe even laid off due to such a slowdown that we saw in relocation. A few responses I'm getting so far. The mortgage world obviously has been crazy and very fortunate in a good way, and that's true, and blessings for that. In general, hiring slowed down. Everyone mostly is working remotely. So we saw a lot of our clients delay their relocations to maybe they did move this fall, or maybe they're talking about moving sometime next year. And we still are seeing not a lot of business travel.
Wow, Jennifer, those are some great bullet points, and I was trying to capture as you were writing some of those points, because even in our oil and gas industry, no doubt, we almost got a double whammy, right? We had the impact of COVID, then the price of barrels of gallons of oil plummeted, so stock prices impacted. And I was amazed at how quickly we turned from kind of in a spendthrift mindset to being very on purpose about every dollar having a purpose. And you don't spend that dollar unless you absolutely have to. And what I was impressed about was that quickly we changed from that spendthrift mentality to really being focused on how do we survive and stay alive for our, not only for our employees, but for our customers and our brand. So what you commented on aligns pretty much, I feel like, with most of the industries. And to your point, great mortgage rates, et cetera, but then we saw people start to spike and, home loans, et cetera, interest rates at a way people could move from renting. And no doubt that's a favorable impact for you, but you brought up something around the furloughs, right? And the emotional impact to employees. So it was a year we'll never forget. And again, with you being on the call today, what a great opportunity for us to do some self-reflection, and how can we take from what we learned and really live our very best life and best career based off of those learnings. So thank you for sharing those things, and I appreciate you, and I tried to jot them down as quickly as I could. So great insight. Let's move to the next slide. So there's a golden circle that I would ask that you reflect on. And Simon Sinek, great individual. So please take the time to do a little research on this individual, but I think he's written around 5 great books. And in this particular one that stands out to me is the one where he asks, why? Why do you do what you do? What's the purpose? And I think when we see that center circle, that's really the nucleus of what drives you, what brings you to work in the relocation business and industry. And once you kind of start to think that circle through, like, what do you do? The outside of the circle, very important. And then that next circle, inner circle, how do you do what you do? That gives you more insight. But where the meat and potatoes is, and really what should make you come to life and perk up, is the why. Why do you actually do what you do, and what's the purpose? That will differentiate you if you can figure those things out from any of your competitors. And believe me, everybody's in a fight for market share. No doubt. You go to work every day, you'll hear it at all levels of the organization: market share, spend control, whatever the case may be. But what all those things are really byproducts of you coming to a clear understanding of why do you do what you do, and what's the purpose. And I would challenge you and ask, it's great if you figure that out at the senior leadership level or at the mid leadership level, but you know who really needs to know that? Every associate who works in your business unit. If they know why you do what you do and what's the purpose, they are more apt to have an affinity towards it and really spend quality time focused on how can they help you achieve those goals. So spend some time there and understand what you can do personally to really drive home that insight within your organization of why do you do what you do, and then what's the purpose. And put that into your leadership strategy, because we all are building, our 2021 goals and plans. But if you can get really clear on this and remember, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And the impact you have on that relocation experience, so that they go tell other people the story. Let me tell you about how that transportation process went from this city to this city, and how wonderful, how communicated those individuals were with my family and with me. That's the story that you want to tell. So let's go to this next slide. And I think this is really where a lot of the conversation today from this presentation, I hope this resonates with you. And you probably can reflect on when you've had leaders like this. I call it the thermometer versus the thermostat. So when you look at this illustration, you'll see reactional leadership. And if you notice the thermometer, it has some bullet points out beside it. Individuals who work in an environment like this, or for a leader like this, will experience those bullet points. One, controlled by the environment, similar to the thermometer. Changes on a whim. Unpredictable in most cases. Lacks consistency, can be hot or cold depending on the day, unpredictable, emotional characteristics. People relocate to a different climate. Now I put that relocation in there just for you all because we're talking about relocation. But that's exactly what turnover is. Organizations that will win today will be very crystal clear around how to attract top talent based off of your brand, and not only how to attract it, but how to keep it. And how do you keep the talent that you have now that's adding value to your organization? And when you think about that thermometer type leader, and all of us, whether in our early career or we were working at McDonald's or whatever we were doing, we worked for reactional leaders who felt just like that thermometer. And when you look at it unpredictable and can be hot or cold, think about it. Sometimes leaders, in my past experience that I've worked with, if their supervisor would come in and really would give them horrible feedback around something that went wrong, or project, or process, whatever the case may be, possibly in your relocation, maybe a move didn't go quite right. What did they do with that feedback? Some leaders who were reactional and more like this thermometer will pass that right down to every other employee within that scope of that business unit. So if you were to go feel the temperature in that business unit on that day when that happened, it'd probably be pretty cold. It wouldn't be consistent. It wouldn't be an environment where people could thrive. And that bottom bullet point aligned with us talking to relocation professionals today. When you lose great people and they relocate to another place, most of the time when they leave a business or business unit, whatever that looks like, it's not because they didn't have a great experience at the company. Typically, it's because they didn't have a great experience with the leader. People leave leaders. They join organizations. And if you're going to spend the time to recruit, interview, all those hours, drug tests, do all those things to get your very best talent to come to work for you, the worst thing you want to do is invest that time and money, financials, and then they end up relocating to another leader. If you look on the right side, thermostat, you see individuals, characteristics and qualities that brilliant leaders bring to work every single day. You cannot take these characteristics of quality off. It has to be part of your DNA, especially when you want to get the most and maximize the value of your environment. When we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, diversity is just a measurement of people. But when you talk about inclusion, that's when you really get the measurement to count, because people feel included to innovate. They can work for you because look at the bullet points. You're consistent, you're steady, you're designed to meet or exceed expectations. They can count on you. You're engaged at all times. You're dependable. Everybody wants a dependable leader. It's no different than if you want a dependable mate, dependable relationship. You remain on course. Internal or external elements don't impact you because you know how to adjust. Think about 2020, pandemic. You stayed on course. You're still here. What a great privilege. Engage those who are privileged to lead. So creates trust within the environment. There is no better feeling than go to work, that you could bring your whole self to work. And when you think about the equity and inclusion side of DE&I, it's when individuals can bring up a point of view to you as a leader, and they don't feel as though you'll instantly push back on their idea, or it's not a safe space. And at the top of this little illustration, a thermometer and thermostat, I want you to look at the leader who was in the orange. The leader in the orange on the left side of the thermometer reactional leader, look what he's doing. You guys get to work. Need you to get out there and get it done. If you look on the brilliant leader side, on the thermostat, that leader's in the forefront. There's a great book written by Michael Aubuchon, and the name of it is It's Your Ship. I had the privilege to hear this gentleman speak to us in person. He gave us a copy of his book. He comes out in his all white, from a captain of the naval ship, and he tells you this great story about how important it was that as a leader, he role modeled the behaviors that he wanted his sailors to see. Instantly, the day he got the opportunity to take the worst ship in the Navy, and I don't want to give away the book if you hadn't read it, but when it was time to eat, he went to the back of the line because he wanted his sailors to go to the front so they would be well fed, well prepared, mentally sharp, so that their vigor and strength would allow them to take on any battle they may find themselves encountering. And what a great mental model, because people are visual. They say 85% of what we learn in life comes through our eyes. So you may think that the individuals who work in your business unit, work with you, may not take notice, but you are on display from the moment you walk in the building, from your remote access, you turn on your computer, you start your Zoom, people are checking you out. And they are watching to see what your behaviors are. And brilliant leaders know that. And that's why they develop those characteristics you see on the right, so that their organization or business units they lead typically will have the highest performance within their company, because they realize people are looking to see, they rather see a sermon than hear one. Most people are wired that way. Brilliant leaders get that. And like this leader on the right side, they're in the front. So take some time to reflect. And if you work for a reactional leader, you got qualities of a reactional leader, you got time to change. We still got a lot of life ahead. So brilliant leaders figure it out. Keep this illustration in mind, and I hope it resonates. The golden rule. This one is another favorite slide of mine. So the golden rule we learn at an early age, right? And in the relocation business, this is highly important for this industry, right? When you look at that picture, you probably see a lot of things. But all I'm asking is put yourself in the shoes of your clients. I said I moved it about 7 times, but on average, we saw it's about 11. We talked about in just the time I have to share this presentation with you, almost 4,000 people will move somewhere in the US. So put yourself in the shoes of those clients. And when you think about that, and you go back to Simon Sinek's thought, why you do what you do, ask yourself, how do you want to be treated? What will put your mind at ease if you were in the process of moving, if you were relocating? And what does communication look like once you get that client? It's great to sign the deal. You got the client. The move is going to go forward. It gets to go on your record book. It's going to impact your year-over-year sales and increases, all of those great things. But ultimately, if you take a strong look at this picture, you see an infant, right? But then you see a mother behind that infant. So your mentality in the relocation business, I hope, because that's some of the experiences in my move, I felt just like a mother's affinity for a child taking care of me from the start of that move to the finish, to the climax of that move. And this little baby looks pretty satisfied right now because he knows he's in good hands. When you all approach your clients who have put their faith in you, their families in you, think about the emotional scenarios going on in their mind. Either they're moving from a home to an apartment, they're moving to, transfer because of a job, new promotion, they got families, and they're putting their trust in you like this baby. And all they want in return is the golden rule. And it's funny. We learned the golden rule at an early age. We're taught that when we have these shoes and these shoes fit, that's when we're taught, hey, the golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated. And then good things come from that, right? Just think that before you do that. And we learn this at this age, but it's unfortunate. By the time we get into these shoes, a lot of us forget it. So big difference for us to keep in mind when you're looking at this picture, that nurturing affinity that you can bring to the table. You have the ability to impact people's lives forever. That favorite bed, that favorite piece of furniture, whatever it was, passed down from generation. If it gets from one destination to the next, and you are thinking about the golden rule when you're moving it, and the people beneath you, because it's one thing for the senior leaders to think it, it's another when every associate that works in your business unit, in the relocation business unit you work in, feel the exact same way you do about the process. And that's when your brand becomes like Kleenex. It becomes like Nike. It becomes like Coke, because all they'll think about is when anyone gets ready to move within their network, they're going to send them your way, because people will always, they won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And based off the number of people that move, you're going to impact a lot of lives for the good. So keep that thought process in mind. I want you to be brilliant in accountability. And this is where it gets really a little hazy, right? Sometimes people will know what they want to change, and they'll have a purpose, and they'll know why they want to change. Where the struggle will come often is being able to execute at a high level. Few people know how to do just that. So when you think about your daily IQ, typically when people hear IQ, they think about a measurement of how intelligent a person is. But a lot of it that goes along with IQ is EQ, your emotional intelligence. So when it comes to you coming in with goals daily and setting goals for your team, think about what's written on this notepad. When it comes to an initiative, there's one fundamental truth: the lack of ownership and responsibility, which kills countless of ideas and best laid plans. So we can have great plans. And a lot of times I find in leadership and interacting with some CEOs of some other organizations, whether it was Walmart, Best Buy, and I'm privileged that I get to look back and think about those interactions, because I want to be like a sponge when I'm around great leaders and take away these great characteristics. Things that I saw great leaders do, where they were able to set really well-made plans in motion and knew how they would orchestrate that all the way down to the bottom level. So, as a child, we used to get cups, or we passed down a secret, maybe 5 or 10 people to see if we could just see if that communication would be clear. And by the time it gets to the end of the line, the game. Most people don't really get the same message. But in business, we can't take a chance if that message is going to be crystal clear on what we need accomplished. We have to know that we can execute at a high level, because you cannot confuse the two, right? You can't confuse effort with execution. And a lot of people will confuse effort with execution. And they'll look you dead in the eye. Boss, I'm giving it my best. I'm here when the sun comes up. I'm here when the sun comes down. You see it when we used to go to work before we worked remotely. Well, you see it on Zoom now. You can tell the time someone's logged in, the computer time they logged off. And that's great that they're spending 12 hours a day. That's how they find themselves, considering themselves to be productive. The question is, are they confusing effort with execution? Because it's a distinct difference. So few people know how to do it. You figure it out, and then you become brilliant in accountability, because you lay out plans that are written from a smart action plan perspective. It's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, and it's time. And not only do you know those goals, the people that have the privilege to work in the organization and report into you, and that you have the privilege to lead, are all aligned on the same goals. So ask yourself, what's your daily IQ? And if it falls into, hey, I know the why, I know the what, and you just got to get good at the how, make that a goal for yourself in 2021 so that you can stay alive and survive. This is one of my favorite slides. Be brilliant in networking. I wouldn't be here today without networking with Bruce. And he's been excellent to have in my network. Consider him a friend. I admire his leadership style. He's an inspirational leader. And Mark, his brother, met them both at the same time. But to me, as I said at the beginning, your network is your network. So be brilliant in networking. When the business industry and relocation, with what you have as a goal on the line of reaching almost 4,000 people an hour somewhere in the US, at least you know you have a targeted goal that you can go after. Even in a pandemic, people are still moving. And so your brand, when you build that brand in the right way, that's going to be a strong point for you. But what's going to be right beside of that strong point of your brand is your network. So who is not in your network that should be? That's the question I want to ask you on this Zoom. And take the time to go through your list. Most of us will go get a physical exam once a year because we want to know about our health. And that's great. We all should know about our health. But when's the last time you did a physical exam on who's in your network? Who's not in your network that needs to be, that can connect you to someone when you run into that obstacle? Because you're going to run into an obstacle. If you lead people in any organization, you're going to hit a wall. And when you hit that wall, you can say, oh, I got the weight of the world on my shoulders. I'm being pressed to find a solution to this situation. Or you simply can sit back for a second and ask yourself, who's in your network that may have conquered this obstacle before? So you don't have to learn through trial and error like many people in the world do. You'll be able to narrow your focus to who's in your network and leverage that network to help you overcome that obstacle. So the big question in red is, as you kind of sort through that, when will you take action to change that if your network's not quite right? Take a look at your LinkedIn and see who's in your network. Is it solely people that look like you? Is it solely people that do what you do? Because a strong network, see, there's deep networks, and then there's shallow networks, closed networks. Closed networks is just people who do solely what you do. And you need that, but it doesn't have the power of a diverse network. People maybe work not only on relocation, but who do you know in other industries that when they get ready to relocate, they're reaching out to you because of your network. See, a diverse network gives you a wider range of individuals, kind of be like your chaos posse, so to speak. Back in the early Westerns, you hear people talk about a posse. They get a posse together and they go solve whatever issue they had or concern. You need a network posse. So when you run into chaos, you reach out to your network posse, and you got people working for you from all angles to make sure you get over that hump or past that obstacle. If you don't have a diverse network, you need to work on that for 2021, because it'll be a competitive advantage over your competition for you to leverage your network. So when you see your sales year over year from a relocation in this area, and you're doing all your measurements and analytics, and you're saying, hey, here's our goals for 2021, leverage your network to see how you can have a positive advantage going into those goals and those meetings around goals, so that you don't have to worry about, will you hit the goal? You'll kind of be like the dream team. If you remember the dream team with Michael Jordan and all of these great athletes at that time, they never went on the court and wondered, you think we're going to win the game today? The only thing they wondered was by how many points. So I encourage you, check your network, take out your cell phones, take a moment and look through it and say, who's in my network? If you were to get a call today and say, hey, business is changing, we're going to have a reduction in force. And due to that reduction in force, we're going to be in a position where we need to make some changes in your department. And if you're impacted personally, who would you reach out to as soon as that conversation is over? More than likely, you may call a loved one, reach out to a loved one, family member, close friend, best friend. And then from there, you'll have to start thinking strategically, like, what's my next chapter? Who do I reach out to that instantly would go to work for you in your chaos posse to say, hey, this person's on the market. And let me tell you, they're an incredible leader and you got to have them because they are super at what they do in regards to relocation. And here's why you need them. Network is likely the most underutilized tool in your toolbox, yet it can yield you the biggest return on investments for one of your most precious assets, your time. You see, we're all blessed with 168 hours in a week. What you do with that time is up to you. But if you want to save time, you can have a strong network and it gives you time back to spend more time with your family, more time focused on your health, more time focused on how you will have a clear strategic plan to be successful personally and professionally. So I compare it to like in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, if you were on 635 when before the pandemic and 5 o'clock traffic, 7 o'clock rush hour, whatever the case may be, you're bumper to bumper. But if you have someone with you, you can jump in that HOV lane and you get to just zoom right by all of those people stuck in traffic. Your network is just like that. So you think about it. If Bruce was to call me and say, hey, Kelvin, I got a friend that's looking to get in the oil and gas business. I have his resume or her resume. Can I send it over to you? I see you guys have an opening and I know they're looking for a job. No matter how many resumes we have on file, if we got 100,000 resumes on file, where did that resume that Bruce just sent me go? It went to the top. And I'm gonna go walk right down or send that hiring manager a note and say, hey, take a look at this person. Someone in my network sent it over who I trust, and if they send it, this is somebody we want on our team. So reflect on that, let that kind of marinate, and think about personally, just like your physical exam, what you'll do differently in 2021 to continue to grow your network. It's your network. So I want you to think in terms of being brilliant at servant leadership, right? Make character deposits daily. We talked about people are looking at you pretty strong. Whatever you're doing, they're taking note. You're the leader. You work in the office, and if you're aspiring to be the leader, they're taking note of that too. Give your audience something to see. Your best at all times. Be the best version of you. Be extremely focused on the big picture. Don't get tunnel vision. Focus just on your business unit, area of relocation. Think how what you do will impact the larger group, the masses of relocation, by you getting it right and you role modeling these behaviors we talk about. Keep this in mind. You get to make character deposits every single day you go to work. You make them at home, personally, and you make them when you go to work. And those deposits you keep to put in, you keep putting them in. But think about an individual who we all admired, most of us did, in Lance Armstrong. He made character deposits. He made character deposits. You saw a lot of people wearing a little band that said, live strong. I had one, you probably had one as well. But when his character was damaged, so was the deposit. It just fell apart. All of those deposits just fell apart. So be cognizant of your character. We started this meeting, we heard great songs from the choir, inspirational music. All of those things are great, and they help us build up our deposit. But what you want to keep in mind is that every day when you have an opportunity to make those deposits, you also have an opportunity to make withdrawals. Don't find yourself in a position similar to Lance, and there's millions of examples like that where people admire you, respect you as a leader, and then you make a withdrawal and you can never put enough back in it to be that individual again. Another thing I want to share with you. See the plane going by? If you're paid to fly the plane, you cannot serve drinks. Just imagine you got on the airlines and you're up in the air at 30,000 feet, and all of a sudden that door swings open and I'm the pilot and I come walking down your aisle saying, hey, would you like a ginger ale or a Coke? You probably feel a little nervous, like, what in the world? Aren't you supposed to be flying the plane? It's the same way with your role as a leader in the relocation business. If your job description says you should be focused on managing 5 people, 10 people, manage those individuals and trust and hold them accountable to do their jobs. But you cannot fly down at their level and you're still supposed to be flying the plane. You should not be coming out serving the drinks. Remember this point. Be brilliant in this area of the business because you have to lift the floor to raise the roof. Every employee should have daily goals that they're enabled and obligated to deliver. Lift the bottom 20% up and then raise the roof. What I mean by that is most organizations have employees that will fall into A, B, or C categories. Your A players, they're really carrying the note. They're doing a great job. They're engaged, they're committed, they're innovating. Your B players, maybe they're trying to get it together. They're pretty good at certain things, but they're steady. You know you can count on them. And then you may have a group of C players that, for whatever reason, either they're misplaced or cast wrong, or they truly don't have the skill to do the job. And if you don't raise that 20%, and typically it's going to come from that B player, because that C player either needs to be recast or they might not fit your organization's DNA. But someone has to have a crucial conversation, or you'll never be able to lift the floor to raise the roof if you allow them to continue to hang on in your business. I want to talk to you quickly around some ideas that you could leverage. If you're in HR, you're familiar with this. Some people call it the 9-box, 9-block, and I'll make sure Bruce has it and can get it out to you if you don't have it. But it really talks about the potential of an employee and performance of an employee. And if you manage people, when you get the most out of an individual is when they're highly engaged, because you created an environment. We'll talk back to the DE&I perspective. When people feel included and they're performing at their best, you see them in that right-hand corner of this quadrant, right? Has mastered current role, provide new assignments, they stretch, they push forward. Future leader, you got them tagged. Future leader gonna do great things. Or they might be under that box, right underneath that box, exceeding performance expectations, identify skill gaps for probable promotion and develop skills. They can handle stretch assignments. And even the one that says room for performance improvement, challenge them because they're ready to go. That's a great group of people that work for you. You need to be very close to them and communicate often to them that you see them in those areas in your mind as the leader. Then you got a group down here in this bottom my left-hand corner, and you see not meeting performance expectations, unskilled needed, or find a new role. If you find individuals on your team that fall into that group, keep in mind your top performers are looking at you and wondering, when are you going to have a conversation? When are you going to hold them accountable to do their job? And that can bring morale down, and that can impact your overall results as a leader. So think about the potential, the ability to assume increasingly broad or complex responsibilities over the next 12 to 18 months, and then performance, the extent to which an individual can deliver results, demonstrate competency, and act in the spirit of company values. You know what your company values are. Whatever your core values, company values are, if individuals don't at least meet that, that's the price of admission. But when they get into that right top corner, that's when they're really preparing themselves to do something bigger for you and add more value to the organization. Leverage the 9-box, have a conversation. When I think about the key C at the bottom of this, it's around knowledge, skill, effort, and attitude. That ties to profitable results, profitable sales, especially in your industry and relocation. And when I look at knowledge, look at skill, effort, and attitude, it's going to end up in the performance area. If you see at the bottom, it says water boils at 211 degrees, from 211 degrees. At 212 degrees, it turns to steam. And if you think about locomotives in the past, how locomotives moved with all that power was because of the steam. If you can turn up knowledge 1 degree, skill 1 degree, effort 1 degree, attitude 1 degree within your teams and people you lead, it's going to lead to great performance. That's the byproduct. So think about what can you do as a leader to inspire those who work for you to turn it up just 1 degree in 2021, so you can see how to stay alive, and they can too, in an industry that can thrive with 4,000 people an hour needing your assistance. I want you to remember these things. Like Disney, be stage ready. Embrace diversity, equity, inclusion, hire the best, and inspire the rest. I want you to leverage your network who's not in your network that needs to be in your network or to be brilliant in your relocation business. Provide great feedback. People want to know how they're doing, and you owe it to them if you're a leader to tell them, and be honest with them, and build plans to help them get better. If you see they're a DNA fit and they just need to be groomed, do that. A great sales culture won't happen by chance. It's developed and sustained by leaders who model expected behavior. Accountability positively impacts morale. Hold yourself and those you're privileged to lead to establishing a culture of accountability. Go into work with the mentality, I own it. If you see it, you own it. And make sure that your team has that same attitude so they're not passing the buck. When that move doesn't go quite right, and I pick up the phone and I call somebody, I don't want to get passed around to a million people and be on hold to tell the same story 5 or 6 times, hoping that I'm going to get a solution. Make people have or feel enabled and obligated to own whatever it is to bring a solution. Remember direction, alignment, commitment. I call it the DAG. Get clear direction, gain alignment, and get commitment. It'll drive your business results. There's a power in servant leadership. Role model the behaviors you desire to see in those who have the privilege to lead. It'll make a difference in the environment and create a culture where people want to be there and continue to thrive. You know, I wanted to share this with you, and you may have heard it. It's called a dash. What matters most of all is how we live our dash. You can pull this up. It's by Linda Ellis. It says, I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said, what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. That dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved them knew what that little time was worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we lived and loved and how we spent our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? Or you never know how much time is left that still can be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation more and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your loved one's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things that they say about you and how you live your dash? Don't let your title make you more grandiose in your mind than what you are. We're just humans. We got a little dash, and what matters most of all is how we live our dash. And you know, if you're 40 years old, I look at it from this perspective. You have maybe 40 more summers. Summer is my favorite time of the year. If you're 50, you got maybe 30 more summers, according to statistic average. If you're 60, maybe you got 20 more summers. And when you start breaking it down to human statistics of that nature, how are you living your dash? And all you can do is leave behind something that's special. And you do that through mentorship. If you want to leave a legacy in the relocation industry, all the hard work that you've taken with you. And if you know, hey, I'm going to retire in a certain amount of years, or you're just starting in the industry, all you want is a helping hand. Mentoring is an opportunity to leverage skills and strengths of associates in order to train and develop each other. I would encourage you to mentor someone that doesn't look like you. Get to know other cultures, multinational, multicultural, females, people of color, whatever the case may be. Find someone different than you, spend some time with them, and that way when you do decide to retire, or if you live your 40, 50 more summers, then you passed on something that they will never forget, that you cared about them. You improved, developed, trained, and motivated, coached, and inspired them to mentor someone. It will bring you a rich reward. There's no greater feeling than to know that you helped someone. If you go into a Sam's Club, look up on the wall, you'll see a quote from Helen Walton. It said, it's not what you gather, it's what you scatter. So as a leader, you're obligated to scatter. Do that. In closing, I want to say this. The past is history. The future is a mystery. What we have right now is a gift. That's why it's called the present. Use your present to make a difference in the relocation industry, because you touch thousands of people. You have a big goal of 32 million people that you can impact. What a great industry to be in. What great leaders you are to have an impact on so many people that will never forget how you treated them. You know, and when you are successful, you're successful by 12 inches. 12 inches, because it's 12 inches from your brain to your heart. So when your brain and your heart are working in harmony, and then you add these hands, you're going to have a great 2021. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. Bruce, I'll turn it back over to you.
Man, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Kelvin. Man, I have so many takeaways. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. So many takeaways. I love that last quote about Sam Walton. It's not what you gather, it's what you scatter. That was fantastic. I love the theme, staying alive. That may be all of our themes in 2021. But hey, I just want to say on behalf of the North Texas relocation professionals, thank you so much for just sharing your wisdom and your perspective. That was outstanding. And I'll definitely be following up with you. So I appreciate you so much and wish you a very Merry Christmas, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Hey, at this time, I want to, Rob Johnson is our 2020 Saul Gresky winner, was announced earlier by Pam, and he is now on the call. And so I would love for Rob to make a few comments. So Rob, hold on just 1 second.
All right.
I'm going to put you in the spotlight.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess better late than never would be my opening comment for today. I am so sorry. I apologize. I meant to be on this call on time, and then one thing ran into another this morning. This is actually my third Zoom of the morning, and one ran over into the next. And what a surprise when I get pinged from Kathy Trotka and a couple others and say, "Are you on the call? Are you on the call?" And I thought, well, I'm going to get there as soon as I can. And then I learned that I was a recipient of the Saul Gresky Award. Oh my goodness, what an honor. I'm humbled by this, because when I look back at the previous award winners, Miss Pinto and all the rest, I hold that whole group in high esteem. And I'm so pleased to be added to the group. And I'm thinking it's because I only have 20 summers left, according to the speaker, but I'm going to try for 25. And I certainly try to live the dash every day in everything I do. I really enjoy my partnership with NTRP and have for many, many years, and had the honor of knowing Mr. Gresky, through our industry back in the day. And so it's a very great honor for me to be awarded this today. Thank you all very, very much. This group and the people within it mean a lot to me. We've all many of us worked together at various companies over the last 35 years plus. And so many are old friends and a lot of new friends. And again, thank you to NTRP and the board and the NTRP members and TR members for this opportunity. I wish we were together as we typically celebrate the holidays with the police department and singing and songs and the toys for the kids. But what a great way to finish 2020 for me. I sincerely appreciate it. It's been a very unusual year for all of us. And this is my first present under my tree. And I thank everybody for the opportunity. Again, glad to be part of it, albeit a little late this morning. Thank you.
Hey, better late than never. Everybody give them a little thumbs up or, a little icon in this virtual world. I also I think I see Kathy on here as well. Let me see if I can. I
have a laptop and a big screen, so I'm looking up at my big screen so I can actually see.
Oh, yeah. That's okay. I was wanting to see if I could make Kathy also part of this spotlight video, because she's here too to support you. Listen, I just want to say just real quick, Rob, you were like one of the first leaders that I met in when I got in mobility, and you've been a great ambassador and role model, and so well deserving. Wow. You want to say anything? You want to say anything, Kathy? Okay, good.
We tried really hard to prompt you, and I know you got tied up on a phone call, but it couldn't happen to a more deserving well-centered person who's given so much to your core to this business. And we know it's been a long time of dedicating overtime, but it's taken a lot outside of your normal work hours to achieve some of those things too. So just happy for you. Congratulations, and
Thank you.
keep on keeping on.
Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. Listen, congratulations. Well deserved. Hey, we have, listen, I was hoping we could have, 15 minutes or so. If you have to jump off, go ahead. But I'm going to put everybody in a breakout room, smaller breakout rooms for about 12 minutes. And just so you can share maybe like a favorite Christmas tradition. Like, let's kind of leave with some Christmas holiday spirit. And so if you don't mind, we're going to do about, like I said, I think it's set on either 12 or 15 minutes. If you have to jump off, we understand. But let's try to do that. And I'm going to do that now. And then we will not be coming back to the general session. As soon as that's over, the meeting will end. So I just want to say again, congratulations to Chris as our new president. Jane, thank you so much for the job you did as our 2020 president. The new board, Kelvin, was fantastic today. And I cannot wait to see what 2021 has in store for us. So